What is happening, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Comic Book Weekly. It's going to be a fun show as we get to talk about, of course, not that much comic book news, but we will be talking about a lot of comic books. We're going to talk about the cool topic that we kind of came up with. And, of course, we're going to take your comments and questions live as well, guys. We get to see that we do have a few people on the show already, which is kind of cool. We have Jolly on there. We have Tevia is on there. The name that changes. Get the Key Comic. Discover is on. Yeah, guys. So thank you so much for the early watchers on the show. Hopefully we'll build up the audience as the show gets going here. So I guess with that being said, I guess we'll kick off with the news this week. I mean, it's not like a lot, right?
No. Definitely not. Well, I'm sure we'll again get. Honestly, there's so many comics. Like there is a lot of good comics this week too. It was hard. That's one. Like I don't know how you guys do it because this is so many comics. Like there's not a week where I have less than 10, which I kind of like a good like 12 comics. When you get more than that, it's like it's so much to read. Even this coming week, I have like 15. I'm like there's no stopping.
I'm curious before we get into the news. How many you had like 15 cat or so?
I think 16.
This week. 16.
Yeah, 16.
How many did you have, Mike?
Wait, so I read 17 regular books, and then I had like 7 new number ones. I think it was.
That's crazy.
Okay. So I was telling Kat, we were talking the other day, and I was like, I know I have over 20, but I can't remember how many. So I'm like listing all my comics to rank them and everything, and I'm looking on, and it keeps going and going and going. I'm like, oh my God, I read 30 freaking books this week.
I had that like 3 weeks ago. I had like 30 books. I'm like, what the hell, dude? So like, once I got to that, I'm like, I gotta start making some cuts with all these new books that are coming out, man.
This was eye-opening because I could not imagine I had 30.
Right. Real quick before I want to get into it, I know people were asking about how I did with the hurricane, and I just wanted to say that everything is fine, guys. Luckily with this storm over here in Florida, we did not get like very much rain at all from it. We did get winds. It was like a windstorm. So we got gusts up to 60 miles an hour. I lost power for a couple hours overnight, but that was really it, which I was very lucky. The people in Georgia, North Carolina, those folks are the ones that got really hit with it, and then like in Tallahassee or close to Tallahassee, Big Bend area. So, think about it. If that eye of the storm was about, couple hours like south, it would have been a much different story. Now next week we're expecting another system to come through here. And it's not supposed to be like a major hurricane. It's supposed to be a big weather maker, like when it comes to rain. So they're saying within maybe 2-3 days time, as of right now, if it stays, that we could get anywhere between 8 and 12 inches of rain next week. So it's just one of those years, man.
Yeah,
not jealous.
I have family in Georgia, so I was like, when I heard that, I'm like checking, social media and everything, and I as far as I know, everybody's okay. Like my dad lives there, and my one of my cousins lives there. So, but yeah, I think they're okay too. So
good. That's good.
But with that, we will jump into some news here. Well, we'll start with some of the media news. The Beauty from like a couple of years ago was an Image book. I think all of us at least read a few issues. I read a good amount of it. Is getting a Ryan Murphy TV show, which he's always got some kooky shows, and he's gonna have Ashton Kutcher, Evan Peters, who's part of the his American Horror Story franchise. So I'm interested to see where he takes it again. Like I said, he kind of does some kooky stuff with franchises and things like that. I know he has the serial killer TV show on right now with Netflix, and people have thoughts on it. I haven't seen it, but people have thoughts on it. And No, I like the comic a lot. I remember it kind of went on for a really long time, and I kind of dropped off after a certain point. But I remember the
it dragged
concept
on a
was really
little bit,
interesting.
right? I mean,
Yeah, no, it did. I don't think any of us finished it.
no.
Yeah, I'm curious about the show though, especially getting
Sure.
like Ashton Kutcher and stuff, and Ryan Murphy. I like some of Ryan Murphy's work. He did Glee, which I watched for a while, and some other. I don't remember all the shows he does because he does a lot of shows.
Like Nip Tuck, he did a lot of Netflix stuff.
Yeah. So I'm curious about it. I'm definitely going to check it out at least.
I probably won't. That's why I didn't mark it off. I'm like, oh, that's kind of like my initial process was that's kind of cool, but I'm probably not going to watch it.
Yeah.
I do not watch anything on Sci-Fi Channel. I don't know why. I just don't.
I don't think. Yeah. I think it's just a sci-fi TV show. I don't think it's gonna be on Sci-Fi. I think it's probably gonna be on like Netflix or something.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, but no, understandable though. It's not everyone's bag. We do have a comment here from Sabah Nur, and they say as long as Disney's in charge, Marvel has no future. I think some of the problems that Marvel has had, which again, we can talk about Spider-Man and all the other stuff, definitely was before Disney bought Marvel. In my opinion, I don't think Disney buying Marvel really made a huge difference. Besides, maybe they connect to the movies a lot, but other than that, I think whatever problems Marvel has been there for a long time.
I mean, are we talking about the comics? Are we talking about the movies? Like, what are we talking about exactly?
I think I would think the comics because the movies are
I would think so.
They're
too.
so different. Than
it's
Fantastic Four.
When you look at Disney and the movies, like I think like that all worked out at the end of the day, but when you look at the comics, I don't know, man. I mean, would Marvel Comics even? I don't know. Would Marvel Comics be around? I don't know. You need
went out of business.
In this day and age, you need a big company to back you, right? It's the same with DC Comics. It's just like you need that company. Otherwise, you're not making any money at that point, and you're going to wind up going out of business.
I mean, there's a reason they sold, right? They needed help. They needed a influx of cash. So, I mean, without Disney, I don't think. I mean, who knows? They could have had another investor come along, but I think overall it's been a positive thing. They've had some good runs. The movies have definitely kind of made more awareness for the brand, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's not everybody's cup of tea, and I get that. And you got your old school fans and stuff, but I think overall it's been positive, their involvement.
I agree. I mean, I would say that the movies have definitely helped Marvel Comics get more into the mainstream, right? I mean,
yeah,
for you gotta look at it that way, at least.
Yeah.
No, I definitely agree on all that. Moving on, talk about some Marvel Comics. Storm has a new costume. I'm gonna pull it up, screen share it so you guys could see what the costume looks like. I'm not picking up the new Storm book, so do that as you will, unless we're like, this is the best book ever. But usually, the Storm books are just not my cup of tea. But I like her as a character a lot.
Trying to first issue, just to put it on Worthy Ones. I have no intention almost to continue it based off of the last series.
Yeah.
But why does she look like Captain Marvel?
I know. I was gonna say there's such a
Marvel.
Captain Marvel look to it. Miss Marvel, yeah.
Yeah. To me, it's like the being white. It reminds me of the animated series, but the design, like the S, and then like the cape thing that's kind of split, reminds me of her black costume.
It's a mix.
So it's mixing those two elements. So I don't mind it. I think it's fine, but it is. I can see the Miss Marvel thing for sure.
Yeah,
Captain Marvel.
That's the first thing I thought of, though, was that.
Yeah.
I honestly like the way the cover is for issue number 1. I like that suit. Like, there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's probably just for that series, though, right?
Probably.
I think so. It's probably not going
Is
to
that
go
a
lead into
miniseries or
anything
is it an
else.
ongoing?
I think it's ongoing.
I don't know. Is it?
They'll say it's ongoing, and then no, it's
Yeah,
always,
then it'll be 8 issues. It's
We're
done.
done,
Yeah.
guys. Do you know on League of Comic Geeks they put a legacy numbering on that, and it's
Really?
legacy numbering issue, legacy numbering 12.
12.
Yes.
Wow.
So like I
That's-
sat there and like because I do my most pulled comics for the week, and like when I do that all like that's the first time I'm looking at that info. So I'm reading it off and I'm like, yeah, Storm issue 1, $3.99, 40 pages, legacy numbering, and I started dying laughing. I'm like 12. I'm like, seriously? Like you put a legacy numbering on something that's less than like 20 issues? Like that's ridiculous, man.
I think they should have a cutoff there. It's got to be 25 issues before you start putting legacy numbering
Yeah,
or something.
absolutely. Oh my gosh, it's so dumb.
Cliff on comment, and we'll obviously talk about this more for the topics. Lord have mercy, Absolute only showed up because of Ultimate Comics making a comeback. I mean, maybe true, but they're definitely treating it. Oh, am I pausing?
No.
Pausing a little
No.
bit. Or Brand's
I was
pausing.
talking to Brand. I was talking to Brand about this offline. That's what people would say. That,
oh, really?
yeah, like this.
That's
Yeah,
funny.
like this is like the next. Like we were talking about the title of our topic, and we're talking about that's what Ultimate Comics is. It's supposed to be the next big thing, and DC is copying off of Ultimate Comics.
Look, it was a slow news week.
Yeah.
We did the best we could.
We did. This is actually, we tend not to do any articles for like Bleeding Cool rumor articles because it's just like, it's, hasn't been confirmed. So we're like, there's no news. So let's, tell everyone, Lenny, you're biting me. Sorry, my dog is.
We'll tell everyone Lenny's biting Cat.
Come here, Lenny. You want to show how much of a culprit you are? But anyway, so yeah, we were like, okay, let's just tell everyone like this is a rumor, it might not be true, but let's talk about events of Marvel and kind of make it like a bigger topic with that. So we will talk about it in literally 2 more news pieces. So we're gonna get there. So next up is both Marvel pieces, and one is Blue Bolt joins West Coast Avengers. Cool, I guess.
He's a
Who
new
the
character.
heck is Blue Bolt? Yeah,
he's new.
Yeah, I think he's new.
Yeah. You know what he reminds me of? Like a reject Lobo, because I looked into him and it is. It kind of is that way. He's kind of an asshole, things like that. And so, listen, I mean, we got to put in a new character, a new series writer for it. So, I'm excited about that book anyway. So, hey, character could be cool. Never know.
My thought was this. It's West Coast Avengers, so they need your U.S. agent / Hawkeye type figure, and that's what this character is going to provide. Just the kind of wise, cracking, kind of jerk, and that's what both of those characters have been in the past for that team. So that was my immediate thought. It's like, okay, we got to have that kind of character.
So, so what was the name again of the character, Kat?
Blue Bolt.
Blue Bolt. He is a new character that is created. So
try him out. So maybe he's a good character. You never know.
There we go. There's Mr. Blue Bolt.
Yep,
he's very 90s, very, very old school West Coast Avengers.
See, doesn't he remind you of like a Lobo? In a way,
the best. A little bit. He reminds me of like a wrestler more than anything.
Yeah.
Well, look at the back of his jacket. It says Bolt. It's like reminds me of that 90s Lobo when he has showing the back of his jacket, Lobo's back or whatever.
Sorry, my screen was going crazy. But yeah.
That's Blue Bolt. Speaking of new stuff from Marvel, and we're just gonna go into the main topic. Ultimate Kraven is coming in Ultimate Spider-Man. They're just introducing every Ultimate version of Spider-Man characters every issue. And Guardians Galaxy. It also seems like Guardians Galaxy. I mean, the Ultimates is doing a job of like, oh, you really like Guardians? Sure, we might have a spin on them already. Cool. I don't know if I have a ton of thoughts on it until I read it, but I mean, they're just introducing characters. I think it's interesting going back to the Marvel Studio stuff, though, because back when Ultimate Universe was happening, MCU didn't really exist and Guardians wasn't very popular. So it's interesting to see the influence of Guardians becoming popular because of the movies.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that because Guardians weren't on anybody's radar before that, so that's
Sure.
definitely true. I do like that they this team of Guardians is going to have a version of Star-Lord and Captain Marvel on it, so
Yeah.
that could be interesting.
And they're different. And then you got the
Yeah.
Ultimate Nullifier that's a character.
Right? Instead of a weapon, yeah.
Yeah. And then
That's gonna be
Cosmo
interesting.
looks different.
Mhm.
So that's kind of cool. I mean, I think it's neat. I mean, this is their way of introducing this universe before the maker comes back. And
Sure.
Yeah.
and I'm excited about that. That's just neat because we're just getting different characters, different versions, and I don't know. I'm enjoying it. And then when it comes to the Ultimate Spider-Man thing, like we got introduced to Kraven, was it last issue? Not this issue with Ultimate
Wasn't
Spider-Man,
this
but
issue.
the
Yeah,
issue
it's the one before, yeah.
Right. And so we got introduced to him. So it's cool that he's going to be a major player in here too. Just kind of like how the Black Cat was in this last issue. So I am
Different
excited.
Black Cat, though. Different type of character.
We're going to see the female version soon, but
yeah, like next issue, I want to say.
Yeah. So I'm excited though, man. I think the Ultimate Universe for me has been fun. I've enjoyed it. And then I think they do it in a pace where it's not overwhelming, so.
Yeah.
I've been liking Spider-Man a lot. Ultimate X-Men I dropped, Black Panther I don't read, and the Ultimates I think some issues are really great and some issues I don't like. So, but I always felt that way about the Ultimates, like even in the regular universe. I don't know if I'm sold that Ultimate Spider-Man is going to do what the original Ultimate Spider-Man did. Like, I think that's just a really special book, but I'm liking it, and we'll obviously talk about this issue. In how that compares to Amazing Spider-Man. I think it's interesting because again, Ultimate Spider-Man when it came out, the 2000s version, there were better Spider-Man stories than Amazing. So now when you only have Ultimate Spider-Man and what's going on Amazing, it's like the comparability is like anything can be better. Exactly.
It's like night and day. It's insane how much better that book is compared to the main title. It's just the writer, I mean, is just out on a next level,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it's a really, really solid book. And again, we'll talk about this issue, but let's get into the main topic, which is Marvel going to have their own absolute power? Everyone's already kind of given their opinions of like, oh, well, the Ultimate Universe is kind of like their version of absolute power and All In. But I think they're doing it in different ways. The Ultimate Universe from Marvel is very, very Marvel. They're not changing anything about the regular universe. They're like, this is our little corner. Have fun with it. DC is like, no, we want to make this initiative. We want to make a big splash. We want to get more issue ones. And it's just very different initiatives. I don't think Marvel will ever do what DC does. And I don't think DC will ever do what Marvel does in the way they release these new initiatives. So no, I don't think Marvel is going to do an absolute power. But I'm scared that the Ultimate Universe won't be as strong as this All In, because All In, literally the All In, everything has to change. There's new jumping on points. Ultimate does feel like this little corner where it's just like you can read it if you want. And honestly, in my opinion, I think it really is just for Spider-Man fans. I'm sure the other books they're fine. But those are people who are enjoying the Ultimate Universe the most, and it's not new reader friendly. Like, it's not really, in my opinion. I think it's a book that is for the Ultimate Spider-Man fan like us. I'm hoping this DC stuff that they do could be new reader friendly, kind of like the New 52, especially Absolute Batman.
Wonder Woman. It's supposed to be. I mean, you got DC All In, and all of the stories that are getting ready to come out, once they have that All In there, that's supposed to be new story arcs for everyone to try out the title and see if you're willing to jump in it. That's basically what it is. So, because Absolute Power is ending, so this is your time to jump on these books. Now, not pretty much the creative teams are pretty much staying the same, but if you want to jump in, this is again the time. You got a few creative teams that changed, right? So,
and they have such big names too. You have Tom Taylor, you got Joshua Williams and Scott Snyder, Kelly Thompson. I think it's so funny because we'll always state this. The three of us are bigger Marvel fans than DC fans. That's just how it is.
Mhm.
But I think we also kind of look at things, hopefully, with that rose-colored glasses. And I think Marvel has some things they need to fix, and they've not really tried. There's like, let's keep doing the same thing we're doing. And I think DC at least is trying. They're like, okay, we know we fucked up a little bit. Let's do something new.
I mean, this seems very exciting, you know,
Mhm.
and I'm excited for it. And it's going to get me to try some titles once again to see if they're worth jumping in, you know, and then obviously I'm going to try out all the absolute stuff. So I am excited about it, you know. Now, when it comes to Marvel, what is their next big thing? Yes, we had the Ultimate
Spider-Man
Universe,
deaths, whatever, but how can you be
yeah.
excited after 10 events have disappointed you?
Now, you know, we titled this on the thumbnail, like, what's the next, you know, big event? What can be bigger than Civil War? And there's talks of Mark Millar actually coming back to Marvel doing an actual story again. I don't think he's never going to join Marvel and stay with Marvel because he's got his own stuff going on. But who's to say that he's not going to be able to write a story for Marvel, you know? And he did Civil War. So it's kind of like, and that was a huge event. Like, that was a big thing. Like, everyone was talking about it.
I mean, it was all over
Everyone
the
was
news and
buying
everything.
it. It was all over the news. And Mark Millar, like, knows how to write comic books, right? He's Old Man Logan. He did the Ultimates in the past. Like, he's done all that stuff. He's got a proven track record. So, like, if he comes to Marvel to write another story, like, that's a big freaking deal. And I'm sure he's going to want to make an impact because that's what he does with all his other books.
And it's new blood. And for him, I'm sure go to Marvel, that way you get those fans to go to your books. I mean, that's a great way to get more people indie comics. And I think something that has been proven when you get new blood, Gail Simone, I think she's been rocking it. I really like what's going on with X-Men. I have not been this excited for the X-Men franchise since, and I didn't love Bendis's run, but since Bendis, like, I think Bendis had a pretty solid beginning to his run. And how many years ago was that?
Oh, so many years. Yeah, I agree. That was the last time I can remember being excited at the beginning of that run. And before that, who knows? But yeah, no, I agree. And I think what you said earlier, Kat, about Marvel's never going to do what DC does, I agree with that, and I think it's interesting the way that they approach their universes, whereas DC has always felt like the multiverse. You know, it's like larger than life. There's all these different worlds, and they always do that kind of thing, where Marvel has always been boiled down to more relatable, more personal, focus on families and all that stuff. I'm not saying DC doesn't do that too, but it's just that's been more Marvel's focus. It's more like, I don't know how to compare the two, but it just,
you know, one's grounded and one's fantastical. That's always been it.
Yeah.
I think that's why we like Marvel a lot, because we like grounded stories. It's relatable. Again, DC is Superman's from another planet. There's relatable aspects, but it's still within the phantasm. You know, that's always been the biggest difference. And for me, that's why I like Marvel more. I just tend to like grounded stories more. But that doesn't mean I don't like reading a good Superman book. Because I'm, you know, currently Superman's great. I've been really enjoying that book a lot. And I think, I think with Marvel, I want to see a worldwide event that really affects things. But I think this is the missing piece for Marvel, because there's good books at Marvel. I'm not trying to dog on it, like Ultimate Spider-Man. I've been really enjoying that. Exceptional X-Men. I'm really excited for that issue too. Uncanny X-Men. Like, I like those books. And I think Marvel has some decent stuff right now. It's just the idea of like, how do you make it exciting again? Because you are still doing kind of similar things.
And it's like, we can have a big event and stuff, but ultimately with Marvel, no pun intended, their events usually end up with very little, if any, repercussions that are felt throughout the whole universe. And I think Civil War did have large, you know, impactful things that happened. I think House of M and all that stuff did at that time, but it's been a long time since we've had that kind of story.
I want a story. like Superior,
Yeah.
right? Where it's just like kind of like,
Yeah.
whoa, that just happened. That's crazy.
Right. Yeah, something that it leaves these lasting effects and that actually changes things at least for a long time, if not forever. And just, gets us excited, gets you pumped for, something new and something fresh like that. So, and we haven't had that in Marvel in a long time. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I'm just gonna go to the Serenity's comment right here, and says I just did some math, not counting the 3 issues. Storm and the Brotherhood, or X-Men Red, which was clearly a Storm book. Storm actually has 26 issues, so legacy numbering should be 27.
I believe Serenity more than Marvel's legacy numbers. Serenity's a very big X-Men fan.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So obviously DC has tried multiple occasions on kind of restarting their universes, and I thought the New 52 was a pretty good one up until a point. I think we all agree on that. And it did feel like a cohesive universe, because they did talk about all the Earths and things like that. And now it just is like a lot of the stories are just like, oh, this is an Elseworld tale, and it's just like, where before they went out of the way to be like, oh, this is Earth 2 and this is Earth 3 and this is Earth this and that. And, we even had an Earth 2 comic book that was around for a long time when the New 52 launched. And that was actually really good comic book. I remember Brett Booth did the artwork on that book. And
Tom Taylor was on it for a while too.
It was nice, man. And I just hope that with this absolute stuff that, DC does get back to some kind of like, symmetry, like they get along, all their books work together. And, I kind of felt a little bit of that in absolute power. So, we'll see what happens going forward all in.
I think the last year or two has been pretty solid for DC. I'm not saying they've been doing the best ever, but you do have books like Green Lantern and Superman, and they do feel pretty cohesive. So I also think this feels exciting because Scott Snyder's returning, and he's going to be returning to tell a good story. Like, he wouldn't return just to be like, oh, he's not money grabbing, it's so obvious when he talks his love for DC Comics. And that's why I'm excited. It's just that all the creators behind it, and I like that creators spearheading it. It doesn't feel like an editorial or the CEO of DC is like, oh, we need to do something. It does feel like, no, Scott Snyder wanted to do this, and he brought his friends along for the ride.
Right.
Yeah.
Tevye sits there and says, oh, sorry, Brant. He just sits there and says, Civil War wasn't good in my opinion. I mean, you're entitled to your opinion, but I don't know very many people who sat there and said that Civil War was a poor event book.
No, the only thing that bugged me about Civil War was the long delay before the last couple of issues, and all the other Marvel books went ahead beyond the storyline. But and it wasn't that long ago, like a few years ago, where we were like complaining about DC because it was like, there's no Green Arrow book, there's no Green Lantern book, where are all the books? and now we've had like a couple of good years where we've had those consistent stories and stuff. So I think they're doing a good job right now. And Marvel is in pieces, but
different ways,
as an overall whole, it's missing something for me personally.
Yeah, it sucks when you're reading Avengers and you're not talking about like, oh, did you read what happened in Avengers? Spider-Man, same thing. We're Spider-Man fans, but if you're not, like, I don't blame that you dropped it a long time ago. Again, finally, X-Men's the talk of the town, but like, I want more books to be like that.
I think like Marvel has just too many books. Their pricing is very inconsistent across the board on what books are $5, $4.
There's no genre mesh either. Like, there's like, I think with DC, they have like, this is your YA book, this is your whatever book. Like, it's like, oh yeah, I guess we'll do a Spider-Man book, whatever, I guess we'll do this Dazzler book. It doesn't, like you said, it doesn't feel cohesive. There doesn't seem to be a purpose with some of the books that are released.
They just go by like, this is your X books, this is your Spider-Man books, this is your random books. I think that's how they segment their books, But yeah, I mean, it's just like, I don't know. I feel like their universe is a little bit all over the place right now, and it's just too many books. It's too expensive and it's too many books. Like, you want to come out with solo titles for your X-Men, that's fine, but I don't think we need as many as there are right now. I think we
I don't
talked
know if
about it a
Rogue
little bit.
needed a Savage Land book. I don't
No,
know
you
that.
don't need that. You don't need a Storm book. You don't need a Psylocke book. You don't need a Mystique book. You don't need all of those books right now. If you want to do a series, you do a series, let one end, and then come out with another one, right? And just do it like that. I think releasing them all at one time is a mistake. I mean, as expensive as the comics are and as many titles as there are, you're asking a lot of, people. How are people going to read all these books? Then you wonder why they get canceled.
Or you build upon them, like, right? Because Mystique could maybe be the best book ever. I don't know. I don't read it. But if it span out of Uncanny and you're like, whoa, I read that thing in Uncanny. That kind of feels cool for this Mystique book. I think Skybound's been, I don't read all the G.I. Joe stuff, but it seems like they're building on top of each other a little bit more. Like, they came out with Duke before they did G.I. Joe. I think that's an answer to
some. And that's the way to do it.
And then, like, I don't know if it's for all books, because then I look at books throughout DC, like Zatanna. Like, would we get a book like that if they didn't say, hey, I want to, like, make this cool, weird Zatanna book? I just think if you are making a magic book or a Storm book, it just has to feel really different, because I think that's why Zatanna works really well. It's like, it just feels like this indie book that you could really enjoy. And sometimes these solo books just feel like the same thing going on over and over again. But, yeah, I mean, we'll see again. And obviously it's important to have a lot of these characters too. Like, I think it's awesome to have Storm as a main character somewhere, because it's a strong Black lead. I think that's an awesome book to have. And I think they should be out there, but I think then promote your Storm book more, because that's an important book. Like, I want more people talking about it. Like, give me a reason to buy Storm issue 1. I want to pick it up, and then I want to add it to my pull list,
Yeah, to your point, I think Steve Orlando did a good job with the Scarlet Witch series. In my opinion, I really like that series. I know you all don't read it, but it was different in that, you took a character from the movies, Darcy, and brought her into this world, and then did this concept where there's this door where people can just go there if they need something, and they walk into this magic shop, and she goes on these different, little adventures with them. So it was something different that you weren't getting in other books. So more of that kind of stuff I would be fine with. Yeah,
I think that wraps it for our topic. Anything else you want to talk about? I'll plug a Kickstarter, and then we'll jump into comics.
we had a question about our reading.
Oh, I did see that, Paul, right? Yeah, that was actually good.
Yeah,
there it is. You want me to read it, or you want to read it, Brent?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Hey guys, this is off topic, but once you read a comic bad and bored, how often, if at all, do you go back and reread them? I love rereading like books that like Runaways or Paper Girls, but I tend to read them in trade and don't open up the single issues, because that's a lot.
For me, it depends. Like, if it's a book that I really like, every so often I'll go and dig it back up and pull it out and read it. But often, no, I'm like Kat. I'll go get the trade if it's something I really, really like.
Yeah. So it's funny, because I just recently bought, like, Do a Power Bomb, Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, The Me You Love in the Dark. And I got them all for a really good price. So I was like, well, instead of going, back issue diving in my own collection, it just makes it easier to read those trade paperbacks, Every once in a while, though, I might pick something out and read it just to go back and remember it,
Yeah. Sometimes I'll like, if I'm trying to remember something, I'll like go back and look. Oh, let me refresh my memory about that. If I'm gonna do it for a video or whatever, that kind of thing.
Right. I think. Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah, I think we're gonna go into comics, but yeah, I do have a Kickstarter, so I'm gonna plug that first, and we'll then go into comics. So let me screenshot here. We have Nightmare in Wonderland issue 2. It's about Alice, who's an assassin, Alice in Wonderland, and Sleeping Beauty, who's a queen. They're exes with each other, and they end up in a nightmare version of Wonderland. So if you enjoy romance, horror, spins on your favorite IPs. Go check this one out. Almost done with the campaign. That's my Kickstarter, and I think we're gonna move on to comic books.
Yeah, before we do that, I'll just say real quick, anybody in the San Antonio area, as long as I don't have COVID right now, I will be at Comic Art San Antonio or Casa this Saturday. So if you're in the area, come by and see me.
Very cool. Very cool.
Over to you, Mike.
All right, so here we go, guys. It's time to talk about some comic books.
I will say this is the first time that I've always listed out like the titles, and I usually have to knock one out because like either none of us read it or only one of us read it. This is the first time that at least 2 people have read every single book I listed. That is how many books came out this week.
There's a lot of them. Yep, absolutely. Yeah. All right, so we're gonna talk about let's get these books out of the way so we can talk with Kat. And the first one's going to be Masters of the Universe, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Gray Skull. This is issue 1. I know Kat would never buy this. So
no, there would have to be something really special about that book.
and for me, it wasn't that special. I thought that the beginning of it was very cluttered. There was a lot going on. I felt like they showed Masters of the Universe characters just to show them, while they were trying to get you into this story on why the Turtles know He-Man and the Masters of the Universe and why Shredder knows Skeletor. And then there was just like so many different directions. Should Splinter feel guilty that the Turtles, are warriors instead of teenagers? And then they wind up going to this freaking, what are they? The Triceratons or whatever they were. I forgot the name of those guys.
Yeah, I can't remember either.
Yeah. And then there's all time travel involved. And so it makes it very convoluted right from the start, just for everything to make sense. And I'm like, the ending, it's kind of cool because you wind up seeing He-Man. But by the time I got to the end, I was like, yeah, thanks, but no thanks. I don't think I'm going to continue.
I think somebody in your Facebook group actually said it felt like you were starting at issue 7. Yeah, and that's how I felt. I was telling Kat that the other day. It just it felt like you were thrown into the middle of this epic story that had been going on for eons, and you had no idea what was going on. And I think they found the footing by the end, kind of rewinding it. But by that point, I was so confused and so lost that I just didn't care anymore. And I love these characters, right? I've grown up with these characters.
I mean, you grew up to them, but the story was just way too much, man.
Yeah, it was all over the place. And you had to know these characters intimately to get into the story the way they structured it. And I even somebody that like us that know these characters very well, I don't want to continue on with this, unfortunately. So
yeah. All right. So there's our thoughts on He-Man Masters of the Universe. And if you guys liked it though, that's awesome. Yeah, but I want to know in the comments below if you picked this up and if you liked it. So let us know. All right. Yeah. Next was Batman The Long Halloween, The Last Halloween, issue 1. So I actually didn't buy this book because I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be into this because I didn't read the first one. And then I'm like, well, you know what? Let me read it digitally. So I read it digitally and I'm like, oh shit. Like I totally like this book. Like you did not need to know how, to read that first one to understand what was going on in this one. And there was a copycat killer and we wind up seeing certain villains die. And you see Robin involved in this. I think it is Dick Grayson. Am I right? That's the Robin in this? Yeah. Because Barbara's very young and James Gordon's very young. So I like this book. I thought it was a pretty good issue, man.
Yeah, I wasn't going to read this until I saw you had marked it off. So I actually got it digitally as well. So I checked it out, and yeah, it surprised me too. It was a really solid story. The art was really strong as well. I thought I didn't know much about like the original either, so
Right.
I felt like they clued you in on everything that happened. How Halloween is now this tainted holiday because of what had happened before, and now we're seeing, like you said, the copycat coming out, and what happens with the villains and the people connected to the villains and all that stuff, how that played out. I thought it was a really strong first issue, and it got me interested enough to want to continue the story for now. So
Yeah.
yeah,
What it is it's a good detective comic. Like,
yeah,
it's kind of like that's what Batman should be. He's a detective. He shouldn't
right.
be going into freaking space and, putting on mechanical arms and all this other crap. It's just like, it was just nice to see almost like a grounded Batman story here. Wasn't
Yeah,
reinventing the wheel. It was just, hey, let's do this. And that's what I liked about it.
yeah.
All right. So now we're going to get into Uncanny X-Men. This is issue 3. Kat read this one. So what did you think, Kat?
I know solid. It just missed my top 5. I like the tone a lot for this book. I love that it feels Chris Claremont, classic X-Men. I want to learn more about these characters, but it's a little bit of a slow burn. There's nothing crazy that happens in this issue, but I like the vibe. I like the art. I still don't know if it's as strong as that first issue, but it's so much stronger than X-Men, and it's so much stronger than what we've been getting with the X-Men. And I'm here for the ride. I like the series.
I thought it was stronger than last issue, but not quite as strong as the first issue. But I like where the story's going. I like that we learned a little bit more about these characters, and it felt like with this Hag character, you're introducing a little bit of a horror element to it. So you got a little bit of mystery, a little bit of horror, a little bit of classic X-Men going on too. You got Wolverine going off on his own again. So I thought there were a lot of elements that I loved about this. The way it opened up with, just kind of focusing on Rogue and her reflecting and that kind of thing. The art is very, and the coloring is very moody. It kind of fits, the vibe of the book and everything. It's a really solid book, and I enjoyed it. I'm enjoying this series, and it's definitely better than X-Men.
Yeah, I think this is the strongest, X-Men book. I mean, it's Uncanny. I think it should be in all reality. And yes, you get, like you said, you get reintroduced to the characters, which you can appreciate. That's what you want as a reader. And now it's just a matter, do you like these characters, right? And how much is Gail Simone going to insert these characters in this comic book? Or
Yeah.
is this going to be a book where eventually she takes these characters and we get a New Mutants book based off of these characters? Because do you, as an X-Men fan, want these characters to take over this book? Right?
I would like a New Mutants book, but I also think they could be either. I think it could be like they're the new Kitty Pryde. They're going to be sticking around and they're just growing, but they do feel very New Mutants to me.
Yes,
Yeah.
And that's what I got from it.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I could also see, because of how deadly they're selling this Hag character, that one of them might not make it. I could definitely see them going that way. But that would be cool to spin it off into a New Mutants book, and
right,
just
because you're talking
there.
about spin-off books, right, from before,
right?
And I think that's what would make sense, because I think in my opinion, at least, I think it's too many characters to balance out to make a real impact on the comic book.
But I think that's what Uncanny always was, though. Uncanny's has so many characters always, and there's always soap operas. But what they do well usually is that it's like, okay, these 4 issues we're focusing on Rogue, but next 4 we're going to focus on somebody else.
Right. I don't know, man. It's a matter, I think, of the reader wanting to see these characters in this book. And I think that's not going to appeal to everybody, in my opinion. But I could be wrong. I think they would be cool in their own book once they get established. That might be kind of cool to see where it goes.
This is a question from Cole. As someone new to comics and reading all the X-Men books right now, why does Mike say that Uncanny should be the best? Because Uncanny actually is the flagship. X-Men isn't, believe it or not, the flagship book. Uncanny X-Men is the flagship X-Men book.
Uncanny X-Men was the original title of the book until it broke apart, right? And spun off into X-Men. Or am I thinking of that backwards? That's how it
No,
was.
you're right.
Uncanny.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So X-Men was like the new generation back in, was it the 60s?
Yeah.
Or yeah. That kind of branched off, and then eventually the two titles merged into one, and then they split, and then they merged and they split, and so on and so forth. But traditionally, Uncanny X-Men is the traditional title.
Right. It's the powerhouse out of
Yeah.
all the X books. Then you had Uncanny X-Men, and then you wound up getting X Factor, and then in the 90s you had the new X-Men, and the two teams split, and then it's just now we have a lot of X books, and that's just the way it is. So let's hope that these characters are something that they can continue to grow in this world, and people will dig them, and they'll be around for a while.
I like them so far. I think the girl who's not a mutant is really interesting. I'm curious to.
I like her the best too.
Story.
She is,
she's so different.
My favorite. Yeah, hopefully Gail Simone can do that. So what Brant said was, what I wanted to say before is, you made the thing that they casted out Wolverine already, and it's like, oh, there we go, Wolverine's leaving again. And that's something that we've seen 1,000 times. It's just like, why does he got to freaking leave? Why can't he be there? Because honestly, a lot of people want to, if they want an X book, they want Wolverine in that X book, at least in the team fashion. They don't want to see him on his own, because if they want to see him on his own, you could just read the regular Wolverine book that's on his own, right?
Yeah, and I agree with that, but maybe it was kind of just like, okay, we need to send Wolverine over here so we can show how deadly this Hag character is, and so he feels like, he's got to go back to protect them now.
Yeah.
So if that's what they're doing, that's fine. I'm cool with that, but I agree. It's Wolverine. You gotta stop leaving, dude.
Yeah,
come back.
And I think Gail Simone's already balancing. With these kids, Wolverine, the Hag character, the female that took over the mansion. Like, she's already got a lot of plot threads going on in this book. So let's hope that she can balance them out pretty well. All right. So that was Uncanny. So now we'll go on to our number 5. What's your number 5, Kat?
Mine's Absolute Power Origins. Out of all the Absolute Power stuff, this is the thing I'm enjoying the most, because you never really get this background on Amanda Waller, and she's a bad bitch, and you get to learn about her relationship with her family, how she kind of got to this point. Like, there's so many origin stories. I've seen the Superman one, I've seen the Batman one, but this makes it Absolute Power feel a little bit more powerful. Like, it makes you get to understand her a little bit more, and I was just so pleasantly surprised by this series. I really liked it. If there's anything you read for Absolute Power, I actually think this is the thing you should read.
What's the term they use these days? HBIC? Is that that describes Amanda Waller?
I agree.
Yeah, no, it's a good book, and it's really surprising how good it is, because who thought that a story, telling the history of Amanda Waller would be an interesting read? But it totally is, and the way in this issue in particular with her kids, like, just having that confrontation with her and basically telling her, we don't want you in our lives anymore. And I mean, and her like reaction to that is just, it illustrates exactly who she became. Just the wall, cold, calculating, and just, it's a really good read, really strong read.
And it sucks, because it's like, she was all about getting her revenge because she lost family members. And now she lost family members on the emotional side of things. Mm-hmm. So it came full circle here, and she is the straight up cause of why she lost these family members. And it's really good that way. This just missed my top 5. I actually had it in my top 5, and then it kind of fell out to number 6. So, but overall, I agree with Kat here. This was like a solid series here. We did get a comment right here, and it says, the topic of X-Men opinions, what's your thoughts on Ultimate X-Men?
I just dropped it because there's too many freaking books. It's too slow for me. I know you enjoy it though.
Oh, but I'm dropping it after this issue.
That's so funny.
I dropped it as well, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
I dropped it because Now it's getting to the point where there's like too many characters, right? And now you're getting introduced to the enemies in this book, and it's like they're a cult, and they're called the Children of the Atom, and then you got this Shadow King thing going on, and now it's this balancing act of balancing all the characters out, and I feel like the artwork is starting to step down for me, and I think for me it's just becoming a little bit too much that's going on, you know. So it's just a little rough. It's just a little rough, and trying to understand the culture makes it a little bit harder for me as well.
I think if one of us was like the ultimate manga fan, I think it would be like, wow, this is the best ever.
Yeah,
it's like it's just for a different audience, and that's totally okay. It's just not for me.
Yeah, that was my thing. I dropped it after issue 2, and it's not my thing. That's what it boils down to. So.
Okay, so Brant, what was your number 5?
My number 5 is Zatanna Bring the House Down issue 4.
It's another good
for some
book
reason
that
I was
not in my top 5 either.
For some reason I was thinking this was going to be the last issue, but it was not. I didn't think this was quite as strong as I didn't think this was quite as strong as the previous issues, but I still enjoyed it. I like the kind of the recap on how her and John Constantine kind of, met and got it on, and bringing it back full circle to the present, and, kind of figuring out this whole thing as to what happened with her dad and what he became and all this stuff, and kind of setting in motion the finale. So, still really good book through and through, but just not quite as strong. So that's why it's a little bit lower.
I like the reveal with the dad. I thought that was good. I agree this was not as strong as the other ones, but the other ones are like 5-star books to me. I also add what I really liked about this book is I don't care about Constantine. I don't like him as a character most of the time. I don't care about their relationship, but this kind of made me care about them. Like I enjoyed their romance. I enjoyed what they had to say to each other. And I want more books to be like this. This is just such a fun book. And I love Marie. This is where Mariko shines so much. I want to see her writing more books like this. I hope Supergirl is like this. I know she has a Supergirl book coming up, but and she's obviously one of my favorite books of all time is Supergirl being a super that she wrote. So I'm very excited for that.
I liked it. I thought it was good too. I mean, I liked the Zatanna and Constantine, relationship here, and I liked how it was kind of like, a timeout from everything that was going on. And then there was the realization of who she can be and how she can use her magic now, and to do the big thing here to finish off the series. And again, yes, you guys said it, like the artwork is absolutely gorgeous. It's a fun book to read. It's a much better book than I ever expected it to be. I'm not a Zatanna fan, like I've never been. I don't know that much about her. And it's just a well-written comic book. And I think this character is perfect for Marco Tamaki, and I would like to see more of it. Actually,
me too. I wish this was ongoing.
I think one really positive thing about this is none of us are like, as in terms of like superhero comics, none of us are really super into the magic side of either DC or Marvel.
Yeah,
but this book, even though it is a magic book and it's featuring a magic character, it's more about the character and her journey, and the magic is just kind of there, So, and I think that was a good way to do this story.
I agree. Yep. It's a good character-driven story.
Right.
Absolutely. More comments about hopefully I'm safe from the hurricane. Yeah, guys, I did mention it earlier. Thank you so much for the for the wishes here. Everything is fine over here where I live. Like I said earlier, we just dealt with a lot of wind, and luckily, since there wasn't a lot of rain that went with this storm, we didn't really lose anything. But it's great. And again, I appreciate everyone looking after me, but just send your prayers and your thoughts to the people over that got all that damage and lost life and all that other stuff. I'm going to wish them all the best, and hopefully somehow, they can recover soon from it. Okay, so now we go on to my number 5. I don't even remember what it is. Oh, mine is more Venom War Zombie Oats. This is issue 2 of this book. So I have fun with this book, man. I just think it's a good read. We got, again, Patsy Walker becomes a zombie in this book, and She-Hulk is trying to protect her. She wraps her around in like the metal from a car, and they go to the bar with no name, which is awesome. And then, they're trying to protect themselves from the outside, but then there's this dog that gets affected and it starts biting everything. In the meantime, like, you get the Shocker in this book, and he's hiding something from you. You're like, what the hell is the Shocker doing, right? And so, like, this literally goes back to Nick Spencer's Spider-Man run. And he is trying, this is a spoiler, but he's trying to resurrect Boomerang. And in a way, he does it. And you're like, damn, like, I never expected this to even amount to anything, right? And I was like, that's really cool that they're going there with that, trying to bring back Boomerang through here.
Yeah, it doesn't quite work out, but yeah, it was fun. It was a fun callback to that, and I enjoyed this. It didn't quite make my top 5, but it is a really fun series. So yeah, and just the hilarity of the dog, dude. Like, you could see it coming. You could see that when she was sniffing like a Hellcat. It was like, okay, here we go. But yeah, it was a fun series so far.
Yeah, it's good. It's funny in a way too. And, you did get to see a scratch on Jen's hand there.
Yeah, right.
And she says she can heal, but will she heal from this? Like, it's I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
So cool stuff there. All right. We're going to save Spider-Man. We're going to talk about Action Comics. I read this book. It's just one of those books where read it to read it. You don't have to read it. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a Silver Age story. It's got a lot of heart. Lois and Clark's story at the end. I know that's Kat's favorite there.
My
that's
favorite. I love Rainbow.
But I think next issue now we start the weekly aspect of Action Comics.
Yeah, I forget. I think, maybe it's Mark Waid. I forget who's doing it, but yeah, there's like a new event thing with Action Comics because obviously All In. But yeah, I agree. Main story, it like Silver Age stuff. Go for it. I really like the Rainbow story because I feel like it brought a new layer to Clark and Lois's relationship. Lois like, well, I'm the editor-in-chief of the Daily Planet. How do I have my husband as Superman? They kind of have a conversation about it, talk about Clark as a journalist. I liked it. I thought that was really strong. But yeah, it is take it or leave it book. You don't need to read this, but
yeah,
I liked it for the secondary story.
Be Mark Waid and Clayton Henry, and then a backup story by Mariko Tamaki and Skylar
Supergirl. Yeah. That's it. That's gonna be fun. That's gonna be a good one.
I don't know if I can commit to buying every week on Action Comics though.
I gotta do it for Mariko Supergirl. Yeah. I'll buy it for that, and Skylar. I love Skylar's artist too.
It's a lot, man. It's a lot though.
No, it is for sure. Yeah, I think that first issue is gonna be telling a lot.
Right.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
All right. Let's talk about Saga. Kat and I read this comic book. So in this book, it's a lot about the kids. It's about Prince Robot, the Squire. That's his name. He's going through some emotional aspects, and it's tough seeing Alana go through what she's going through because she doesn't know what she wants to do with him. Should she send him, out to get mental help? Should he stay? Like, it's seeing a mother go through the pain of what to do with a child that's struggling almost through like a mental illness thing. And I thought that was the touching moment of the comic book for me. The whole Will and the Gwendolyn thing when they're tripping.
That was fun.
I was like, and then you wind up seeing what's his face that wound up getting killed in the series. And I thought at first he was being brought back, and then I was like, oh, it's just a trip. I'm like, man, that sucks.
Yeah, I think I agree. Those parts I was just like, oh, it was fine. but I really liked our main characters. I liked Hazel too. I thought she had a really interesting arc about friendship where she has this friend who kind of says it as it is. And she at first like, is this a good thing? And she's like, no, actually it is. And I thought that was interesting. And then, like you said, the Squire story was good. And luckily that's most of the issue. The Will aspect, it's like maybe 4 pages or so.
Yeah.
So the good stuff is most of the issue.
Yeah. Agree. Yeah. Hazel made some good things because she's like, it's important that you have your friends because you have your friends so you can be yourself. You can see your true self, you know? So I was like, that's kind of cool. That's a good message to bring there. So, but Saga is just not quite the same as it once was when it, you know, first launched. You know, I think it's missing a step.
I agree. No, I paused for a second, but no, I agree. But I also just love Brian K. Vaughan's writing so much that just his monologue is so good. And I'm just not maybe the plot is not going so many places, but I just kind of like what he has to say.
Right. I just felt like in the beginning, like the first whole 5 year, whatever that story was, I felt like it had a much better direction. And right now, I just don't feel that here. All I feel right now is that we're getting thoughts and a story told from these kids, but nothing is really going on. We don't get any real aspect of what's going on with the war anymore. We don't get, obviously, we don't have the main character anymore because he wound up getting killed. And then it's just like, there's just a lot missing right now. And I'm just like, okay, let's go because we get too many delays on this series. So
yeah.
That's just my thought problem, but I'm not going to stop reading it because it is solid. All right, so let's go on now. We go to Amazing Spider-Man issue 58. Now, I didn't think this was a horrible issue. I didn't because it did its job at creating tension for me because I was like, what's going to happen to Janice? Is she going to die? Is she going to fall out that window? Is she going to get shot? Is she going to kill Tombstone? Is Spider-Man going to do something? Like, and I kept on waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And just when she fell out of the window, I thought, oh yeah, for sure. She's dead at that point. But she just got up and ran away. I'm like, come on, man. You just fell out of a how many story building and you just fell kind of sideways on your neck. And you're just like, I'm good.
This book is hard because again, the art is not as strong.
Yeah.
Ultimate Spider-Man comes out the same week. There's so little words in this issue. It's like, oh no, whoa. And it's such an action issue. They promised this like visual masterpiece and like, oh my God, the tension's so there. And I just didn't feel it. I think like you said, Mike, there may be potential, but this is also like the end of this run. I'm like, maybe for an arc, this is fine, but this is not end of run material. And yeah, it just is Amazing Spider-Man for me right now. It just is.
Yeah, I'll be honest. The art just takes me completely out of it.
It's going to, man. Yeah,
I know, but if the story was better, stronger, or whatever, just what I want to see, stronger. I guess. Yeah. Maybe I would enjoy it more, but I really did not like this issue. I don't like this whole thing where he's trying to kill his daughter. It's just the way it's structured. It's just, I don't know.
It's out of left field, pacing honestly.
Is all off. Yeah.
I get they kind of set it up in Gang War. She like betrays him, but it's just like, that was 20 issues ago.
Yeah, well, she shows up as the star witness in the case. And she was testifying against him. So he obviously feels like, I don't give a shit who you are. Like he has basically lost it in this issue. Like, should you kill your daughter? No, absolutely not. No matter what. But like, he's clearly lost it in this book at this point, you know?
And I get that. I just don't think that was made perfectly clear.
Right.
I don't think the lead up to this was intentional enough. You know, it was like,
I agree.
And whether it's the writing or whether it's the art, I don't know, but or it's both.
Yeah.
It's just, it didn't come together for me. So
absolutely. Like I said, it was very average for me, but I felt like it did a somewhat of a job at kind of creating tension. That's what I got.
I agree with that.
You know,
I'll agree
because
with
that was its purpose. I felt like whether the art is good or the storytelling is good, at least it created tension. At least
Yeah.
it did something to where you're going to want to turn the page and be like, what's going to happen here? Is someone going to
Sure.
die? Is someone going to get hurt? At the end, no, it continues in the next issue. So I guess we'll see what happens. Maybe, Kat, that one will be the bloodiest issue yet. So we'll see.
Oh, I hope so, but the solicits didn't say that. The solicits said it for this one. No, I wish I felt that tension a little bit more, but I do kind of lean more towards Brant. Like when the art is that, tension kind of goes out the window. But yeah, and again, you just compare it to Ultimate Spider-Man, and we'll talk about that when we get to it. But it's just almost like it's a master class where it's funny because I did a video on this where I was like, I don't want to talk about Ultimate Spider-Man being good because of Spider-Man and MJ being together. Take that out the window. What is this? At least it
Full quote. At least it did something.
Right? That's something.
That's hilarious.
I mean, how long have we been waiting for Spider-Man to do something in this comic book? But
Marvel died. we had something happen. No, but like you look at Ultimate Spider-Man, even if you take away like, oh, everything that you love is like happening, they're together. Like, just look at it as a storytelling point of view. This had no words in this book. There's like nothing. Things happen, but there's like hardly any dialogue.
There's nothing left for him to give. There's just nothing left. It's done. It's over. It's done. We got 2 more issues of this, and it's forever done. And all we can hope is that it goes up from here. God knows.
Well, I hope something happens.
It can't get any worse than this. It can't, can it?
Don't say that, Mike.
I think the only thing worse that could happen is if they're out of character. Because that's one thing I will say about this run. No one's been out of character. It's just been kind of boring. I think that's the only way to get worse is if people are like, why did they just do that? That's not Peter. Like we haven't said that yet. So
Peter goes on the run and Paul becomes Spider-Man. That's how it makes
anything can happen.
Paul gets killed, and that will make the run for me. Like it will change my whole thought on this run.
Best run ever.
Best run ever. He finally killed Paul. Like finally. Maybe maybe she's like running through an apartment building again, and then she falls out of another window. And Paul is walking downstairs, and she lands on Paul, and he's killed, and that's it. And it just says the end, and you're like, yes,
that's the 8 deaths of Spider-Man right there.
Yeah, death 1. Oh God! All right, let's talk about number 4. Brant, what's your number 4?
Mine was Absolute Power Origins, so we already talked about it.
Cool. What about you, Kat?
Mine was Saga, so we already talked about it.
Okay, that's fine.
Even with 17 books.
My number 4 was another oddball book that you guys don't like, and that's Plastic Death and Dolls. This is issue, I don't know where we're at. 4? Yeah, 4. So really good book. This, I mean, again, it's a little bit like grotesque and sick about the serial killer. But in this series, this volume, we've been learning about, that origin story and how he has become this serial killer. And it's all because he's been traumatized as a boy. He wasn't quite all there playing with a full deck when he was a kid, but you wind up seeing in this book his mom get murdered, and how she was murdered was very rough. And based off of his mom's occupation, he kind of takes all these things, these quotes that she says, and he takes it to heart because his mom told him, and she worked in a doll factory. And you get to see why he is the serial killer he is today. So all these pieces wind up coming together, and it is just, it's wild, man. And you feel so sad for this little boy that now is grown up in this comic book. But my gosh, man, it's rough. It really is rough.
No, that creative team always does some good stuff. So
good stuff. All right, so let's move on. Past 4. Let's go to let's talk about Titans issue 15, because That's one I didn't talk about or read, and you guys can talk about. Well, I take this moment to go get some water.
It's a solid book. I like it. I think if you love Raven, you'll be like, whoa, this is the best book ever. But it's an interesting way to end this year because I don't think Tom Taylor is on this book after like another issue or so. I think there's a new creative team, but I've liked it enough.
Yeah.
It's like kind of the mid-tier book.
Yeah, I think I remember like after last issue, I was saying I might drop it, and then you all were like, "It's one more issue."
Nah.
So I did read it, and it was fine. But
Mhm.
yeah, it just I don't know. I like the Beast World stuff better. It kind of
No,
went
I do
downhill
too.
for me.
And I like that girl, the one that they introduced that had that traumatic backstory. I was like, oh, she was cool. And then
Yeah,
she hasn't really shown up since.
right. I forgot all about her. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That was like the best part of Titans and didn't really go anywhere after that. So
yeah, it felt like the Raven thing here got wrapped up too neatly for me. It's like
yeah. Beast Boy talks to her and then she's like, I'm good.
yeah. Yeah, so Mike, Beast Boy talks to Raven like she's split into two parts, and one part's the dark, and the other one's trapped. So they free Raven out of the gym, and so now both parts of Raven are face to face. And Beast Boy's like, "No, wait, don't fight. Let me remind you who you are and how you're both parts of the same person." And then they're like, "Oh yeah, okay, let's come together and defeat Daddy."
No, are they seriously after
Yes,
all
I'm
that?
dead serious. They're
Wow.
Yeah, it's
now
very
one together, and they're a new Raven, and
white
all is
costume
hunky-dory.
Raven.
Yeah.
That again, this is like my one thing about comics right now is just like there's never anything at stake. Like it's always so convenient, and no one ever dies, or no one ever like nothing ever sticks or something like that. Like, why can't they fight? It's just conveniently wrapped up so we can get to the new initiative. That's basically why this ended right now.
Yeah. And I think that's why we all like a lot of times indie comics a bit more because you do have those stakes and you have that pacing and sometimes superhero books from Marvel and DC don't have that because they need to put everything back in a neat bow.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so let's talk about Feral issue 6.
Speaking of books that have stakes.
This is a tough book, man. I mean, you open up this book right from the start and you see Patch like all messed up and suffering through its rabies, and just the point of view aspect of this comic is just insane. Just like everything that he's thinking, trying to get back to his friends, just hallucinating, and just, oh my God, this whole issue was just like, as a pet person, as an animal lover, it's just heartbreaking to see what this animal is going through.
I think it was also really interesting to see the zombie story in a new way because you never get to see from the point of view of the zombie being affected. So I really liked that. I thought it was just a really cool, different horror book, honestly.
Yeah, I may be mistaken, but I think there might have been like an episode of Walking Dead that kind of did that. Kind of showed it from that perspective, and that's kind of what this reminded me of. And yeah, it was real like heart-wrenching because you could feel like on the other side of that what all the other characters were experiencing was not what Patch was experiencing.
Right.
So yeah, and you knew it was coming to a head. So yeah, it was a really kind of powerful issue in that way. So I love the visual of it too.
Yeah, absolutely. It's tough, man. It's tough seeing, even it's like a cat, and it's fake, it's comic, but it's just like, it's the animals like suffering, and it sucks,
Yeah.
All right, so let's go and talk about Ultimate Spider-Man issue 9. So
we've been alluding to it.
Listen, this comic book was really good. There's a lot of different stories, going on with all the different characters. And again, what this comic does, what Amazing Spider-Man doesn't, is that it fleshes out its characters, It makes you care about these characters. So if something happens to a character, you're going to be heartbroken, right? No matter who that character actually is. And there's so many different like little elements. Like Harry and Peter's relationship is being tested, like really for the first time.
Yeah, and it's very like conflicting because honestly, even Peter, he's does he walk the bad side there? Because he kind of saw, and does he do anything about it? Right now, he's not, but he might.
Right now,
yeah, that was super interesting. I like their relationship a lot, but I also like the journalism side of stuff too, where we could see Ben, and Jay Jonah be like, I don't want to tell these type of stories. I want to tell real stories. We're like, but these stories sell, and I thought that was super interesting.
Yeah. Not only that, like the way she put it was like, you do these stories that sell, so they'll read the other stuff. And that was like, okay, that's a really good point, MJ. And they saw that too. Yeah, just those little moments are just as good as like the super heroic moments. But I think we're gonna get to that point where, like in this case, when he killed or did what he did, Harry, you could argue it's self-defense, protecting someone, but I think there's going to come to a point where he's just like violent, and Peter's going to step in. Yeah.
Because you get to see little hints of it like right now, because you get to see his thought process. He's like, listen, I'm going to do whatever it takes, whatever I need to do, and Peter already, being that he is new at this, he's thinking the other way. He's like, we're the good guys. We're not supposed to do this. And so, again, they're totally polar opposites. We've gotten that already. We talk about even the Christmas vacation. Hey, why don't you come over here? And he's like, no, we got plans, and it's just like, so that's funny.
Yeah.
My best thing about this is honestly when Octopus created the Iron Spider suit. I saw that Iron Spider suit. I'm like, dude, that's freaking sweet. And he's like, it's got this and it's got these bombs and it's got all this shit. And then Spider-Man's just like, I'm good, bro.
Yeah. He's like, no.
Yeah.
And
so he makes some spandex. So he actually goes back even further now to where he's the Spider-Man that you actually know. He's wearing spandex, got web cartridges, and he's just normal Spider-Man, and I thought that was awesome.
I also love like when he's talking to his suit back and forth that he already doesn't trust Otto. It's like, no, I'm not leaving anything with this guy.
Oh, it's so funny, man.
It is.
Really good book. All right, so let's talk about our number 3. And Kat, it's your turn. Let's talk number 3.
Mine is Zatanna. We already talked about it.
All right, and what do you got, Brent?
Mine is Nightclub 2 issue 2. That's a mouthful. I could predict like everything that was going to happen in this comic, but it was still fun to read it and watch it unfold.
Okay, I was wrong. I did not expect Sam to turn down the offer from the bad guy.
Okay, that part, I wasn't sure, but after that is what I was talking about. Yes, I thought that's where it was going to go based on last issue. I thought he was going to join the gang and it was going to be these rival gangs that way. Yeah, but when he turned it down and when he was with the girl, I could already see where that was going.
You knew that he was whipped and he was going to do whatever she wanted.
And that she was going to use that to get them all infected. And because I could see that, and I was like screaming internally at the guy, like, don't tell her, don't tell her, don't show her that you're a vampire. It's going to go bad.
Right.
And sure enough, it did. And now he's got a huge problem on his hands.
That's what I thought he was going to do when he joined the club. Like, I thought he was going to join the club. He was going to turn them to vampires. Then there was going to be this war.
Yeah.
And now
Same
it's just
result.
like,
yeah,
right. And now it was like, hey, I'm with the hot girl. She used him to become a vampire. And she actually infected her real boyfriend and all their friends. And now there's a problem. And now it looks like he's probably going to wind up joining or going back to his friends, I would think at the
Yeah,
end.
but there's only 3 of them, and there's like a whole gang on the other side. It's just
But they're experienced and they are not.
True. So we'll see how that goes down. But man, I was just like, dude, come on, man, don't trust her.
She did. She had him wrapped around her finger, man. It was just like, yeah.
The thing is,
it's his fault though, because he's flaunting those powers, and they're not stupid. They were just waiting for him to just spill the beans, you know?
Right. And the thing is, it was just like he had a broken heart because he poured his heart out to his friend, and she was like, "Don't, I don't feel that way. Don't." And so he's like, he didn't even like the girl that much. He was telling his grandpa earlier in the issue, like, she's a spoiled brat. I'm not into her. I'm just having fun or whatever. And then he goes and is like, "But I love you."
Yeah, but I think once he realized he couldn't get the other girl,
right?
I think he's like, okay,
Yeah.
I'll have her. Like, she is the most popular girl in school. She is hot. Like, why not?
Yeah,
and
he got played.
Yeah, he did. He got played big time, man.
Yeah.
All right. So what are I on? Where are we? Number 3? My number 3 was Feral.
Just outside my top 5.
Gotcha. All right. Let's move on. You guys are at NYX, so have fun with that.
I'm not having fun with it. Yeah, me too. I want to read for Miss Marvel, but I have not liked really any element of this series. Especially with how many books are coming out. I do think I have to drop this book.
I liked last issue. I liked Laura.
She's got her own book coming.
I know. So I was hoping maybe it was turning a corner. So I tried this one out, and I regretted it. It wasn't the Miss Marvel stuff was just not strong enough. I did like that there was a twist with Sophie at the end, but I don't care enough to continue with it. So I'm dropping
same.
it.
Yeah. Same.
Got it. All right. So I'm looking at ahead and I'm laughing. We talked about Zatanna. We talked about Nightclub. So let's go on to number 2. Cat, number 2.
Ultimate Spider-Man. We already talked about it.
Brant, number 2.
Ultimate Spider-Man. We already talked about it.
Mine was Nightclub. Already talked about it. All right. So let's go forward here. Let's talk about Chasm, Curse of Cain, issue 2.
Didn't pick that one up.
Good.
I figured.
This book is so bad. Like, there is no purpose in this book. It's like, I'm Cain, and I'm going to spend 8 pages fighting underground vermin that became a big monster. And then Janine, how all of a sudden has this mask where she can go into Ben's mind and figure out all the problems within his brain. Like, if you've had that mask all this time, you could have done that a long ass time ago, right? But it happens to be right now that you decide to do this. And oh wait, there's the immortal person right there interfering at the exact same time. What is the purpose of this book? Like, it doesn't exist. This shouldn't exist, I should say. And this is like, oh my God, this is just a pathetic book. It's sad because I like Cain, I like Ben Reilly, and I do like Hollow's Eve also. But my gosh, this is rough, man. Rough.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I don't know what in the world they're trying to accomplish with this book, and the way that Ben and Janine flip-flop back and forth between, are they good people? Are they bad people? Are they criminals? Are they heroes? Where is Cain good? Is he bad? Does he want to kill Ben? Does he want to save? I don't know what the heck is going on. And I leave 2 issues so far, and I'm confused after each one of them.
That's why after issue 1, and I love Cain. I love that boy. I think he's a great character. And after I read that first issue, I'm like, I'm good.
My God, this is why there's too many Spider books. Let's go back to the days of just 3 of them and be done with it. Right? I mean, I felt like that was a more manageable thing, and you got some good quality stories there. Now you just got spider people out the yin yang, and it's too much. And that's what I'm talking about when there's too many books, too many X books, too many spider books, just too many books. And
I think the shame of that, though, is that let's say there's 3 Spider-Man books or Spider-Man related books. The Spider-Womans and Spider-Gwens are the ones that are going to get cut. And then you'll still have 20 Peter books,
That is true.
I mean, so like, then come up with a Spider-Woman book. Like,
no, look, I would love that. I just
like have Spider-Woman, Spider-Gwen, and whatever other spider character it is, and have it.
But then you have a team book. Well, I think in this reality you can, right? Because Spider-Gwen has no supporting cast members. Neither does, from what I see, Spider-Woman when I was reading it. So I think right now a team book makes sense. But the reason I like Spider-Gwen is because I like her interacting with MJ. I like her interacting with other characters. Same thing with Spider-Woman. I loved Porcupine. I enjoyed those characters. And you don't get those type of stories. But they're also not telling those type of stories right now. So you're not getting either.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Yeah. It's tough, man. There's just a lot, and there's so many characters. There's not enough writers, maybe not enough really good writers to write the really good stories. And it's tough, man. It's a fact to follow, All right. So where are we at? We just did.
Those are number 2s.
Yeah.
Oh, Chasm, you're right.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So let's do Kill All Immortals. So all 3 of us read this particular issue. So
I thought this.
What did you think? I thought it was more of the same. In my opinion.
Exactly. I thought it was weaker, and I thought that this brother was less interesting than the last brother.
Yeah.
This one felt more like, okay, every issue she's gonna fight a family member now, and it was just more of the same. It wasn't any new information really. Not a whole lot of forward movement. So not quite as strong as the previous.
I mean, the fight scenes were cool. The art's pretty cool. I do like when she said, "I'm fighting for my freedom more than for the boyfriend." So that I think that was a big question for us, right? We're like, man, she must really love this guy to go after, the family, but she's fighting for herself. That's a good point. Yeah. So I could appreciate that aspect of it. But the whole thing took place in a club, and they're talking, and this and that, and it was just like, okay, what else is this book going to offer besides that, right?
Exactly. I didn't dislike the issue. I like the series. No. I'm enjoying it, but it's just I agree with you. It's like, where are we headed with this? It is the ultimate goal, her becoming free of these chains. But I did like the cliffhanger we got too, that it's a spaceship, and like, how does that play into all this? So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that was cool. All right, cool. So now we're going to go into Green Arrow issue 16. Listen, when it comes to this book, when Joshua Williamson leaves it, I'm going to miss it. I don't think it's going to be the same book. I really don't. I do like how you got the whole family in here. They think, oh, yeah, Green, Ollie's back. He's going to save us. And then, no, he's still the traitor. He's just like, no, lock him up. Black Canary comes, I wish you didn't stop by. It's like, wow, man, what a dick. Like, what is happening? Yeah. And I want to know, when this is done, when the new writer takes over, is Ollie going to go through this dark period where no one's going to follow him, or are they just going to forget all that? That's where
I hope not on the latter half. But no, that twist is actually pretty interesting, because we're getting to the end of the run. Yeah. So you're like, he's just going to hang out with his family. He's going to turn against Amanda Waller. So when he didn't, I was like, oh, that's actually pretty interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting, but it's also confusing, which makes me more interested, because, the last arc was all about him getting his family back together, because, to be whole. And obviously that left off with him working with Amanda, and we don't really know why he's doing this yet and what the end goal is here. So it's just very intriguing. So I don't know. It's like, I want him to turn on her, but at the same time, I'm kind of liking this because I don't know where it's going. And that, that as a reader, that makes me, happy.
I'm kind of thinking, I thought it was because to keep his family safe.
Sure.
Right.
That's what
but-
it was
but
until they
how
left
and
the
why?
island,
Yeah.
right? And once they left the
Yeah.
island, that's when she went after him.
Yeah. So I don't know like what the end game is there. Like,
Yeah,
why
true.
is he,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
So we got one more issue of this, right? Is that it? And then
Right.
I think
I
one
think so.
more. That's it. Yeah.
Gotcha. Man, it's going to be interesting to see the direction of the character from this point on. All right, so let's see. So now we're at number 1, just like that. So what's your number 1, Cap?
Mine was Feral. I really liked it.
Sweet.
Not
about
even
you,
a cat
Grant?
person.
Mine was actually Uncanny X-Men.
Wow. Okay. Really cool.
Yeah.
And mine was actually Ultimate Spider-Man, of course.
Yeah,
I need
figured
to
on that
showcase that is the superior Spider-Man compared to
Oh,
Amazing
hands
Spider-Man.
down.
Yep.
No question.
Cool. All right. So, Brant, now I'll pass it on to you as you do the most anticipated books of the week. So we have the new comic book week that is starting in 4 minutes. So what are you most looking forward to?
Yeah, so it was funny. I had to change mine up because we almost all three
Sure.
had like the
Oh
same
my
1
God,
and
I
2.
didn't even notice that. Holy
Yeah,
crap.
it was funny.
Which
So,
is interesting because one of them's not the biggest book, but we really all
Right.
like that first issue.
Yeah, I purposely didn't pick that one because both of you had
Mhm.
it. So I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna mix it up. And nobody mentioned this one book that we had all talked about last week, so I threw that in there. But first, I'll start with my number 3, which is Absolute Power. Just I want to see how this all ends,
Right.
how it leads into DC all in, all that stuff. So we'll talk Spider-Gwen, Ghost Spider, Jessica Jones showing up in this issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why Jessica Jones is showing up.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to see what that team up is like. I think this has been a
Yeah.
very middle ground book for me. It's been better than where Spider-Gwen's been, but also has not been the best Spider-Gwen series. So I
Right.
wish she was in
Yeah.
her own Earth because that really is more interesting to me. But yeah, let's see her team up with Jessica Jones.
Yeah. And then we have Deadpool 7. Deadpool dies supposedly, and I guess at least taken over.
Yeah, he has officially died in the last issue. And it looks like she'll be taking over with Taskmaster and Princess. Last issue, absolutely a great book all the way around. And
Yeah.
we talked about it last week, I think it was, and Kat just jumped on board with this, and hopefully at some point maybe you can read the back issues just so you understand. But I mean, that was probably one of the best issues in my opinion. And now where does it go from here? Like, how long is Ellie going to be in charge and be Deadpool at this point? I think she's a great character, man.
Yeah. She's Cody Ziegler's really fleshing her out nicely in this book. So we'll see where it goes. The book I mentioned we talked about last week, Hyde Street, issue 1. We're looking forward to that. From Ghost Machine. Yeah.
Yep.
Their newest series coming out, and Jeff Johns still.
Yeah, but definitely something different than what we've seen before. So looking forward to that. And then those other books. So Plastic Man No More is the one that I changed. So we no match, but
that first issue was just so incredible.
It was really good.
Yeah.
So,
really good stuff, man. I want to see like if he repairs his relationship with his son.
Yeah.
Obviously, if he, this is a Black Label book, so anything can happen. You really could do anything. Like, does he die? Does he live? Like, what happened? So we'll see.
Right. Yeah.
We do have a question from Discover. Haven't read any Ghost Spider. Which one do you recommend? I recommend the original run. That's my favorite. I think it has a good beginning, middle, end. I also, if you like, after that, if you're like, oh, I read that, whatever, something McGuire, forget her first name. I think it was the first Ghost Spider when it was originally first called Ghost Spider. That's a pretty solid run too. I like that one. After that, I don't think there has been any other run that's been that strong.
Agreed.
But the first run's like 50 issues, so you have a lot of issues to enjoy.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Tin Can Society is a great
that was
read.
good. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love Tin Can Society. I'm very excited for that second issue.
Yeah. So the last book is all our number ones, which is the DC All In special, kicking this whole thing off, and we're
Gotta see
definitely
what
curious to
happens.
see, yeah, exactly, see how this all comes together.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I'm
excited about
expecting a great story here. You know, you got top talent on this
Yeah.
on this comic book, and it's a story that we've been waiting for a while. And this is something that people really should be excited for. You know, if this
Yeah.
is, you know, you one of your most this should be one of your most anticipated comics of the week. Probably one of the most talked about ones of the week, I would say. You know, and then when you get to, I think, I don't know, is it next week that Absolute Batman comes out? I think we're
week,
right
yeah.
there at that point.
Which
Yeah.
I love how they're splitting it up. I did my list for the month. They're
It's like
not
each
releasing
week.
Absolute. Yeah, they're doing like, okay, Absolute Batman's just coming out this week. You can worry about Wonder Woman the week after. Like, I love that.
Right.
I hated when they all came out in the same
That's
week.
why it's like this week is the special, next week is the Batman,
Mhm.
then it's going to be like Wonder Woman.
It's not
then
overwhelming.
Superman. Right, exactly. So really, really interesting. And I think it's like 60 pages or something, and it's $5.
Yeah,
like, I think it's
only $5.
reasonably
Yeah.
priced. Yeah.
They want people to
Yeah,
jump
not
on,
bad
which
at
is
all.
actually what's important, you know?
Right, exactly. Yeah. 64 pages, yeah. So good value. Hopefully a good read. Hopefully it gets us excited for this whole crop of titles coming up. And yeah, so that wraps up our most anticipated. It was very quick and easy this week.
What does this comment say? What
How
it say?
does Comic Corner afford to have Spider Slayer in every video? I don't know. I don't know how you afford yourself, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, am I like I you know, I'm just there, man.
You're
I'm
a high
there every
commodity.
day. I
Or
have
do you
a
mean
job.
Yeah.
What's that?
Go ahead. I was gonna
No,
say,
we-
I wonder if they mean how does Comic Book Weekly afford to have you in our
Oh,
videos?
maybe.
Oh,
No,
Maybe.
I don't know how we afford it. We pay millions for Mike to be on.
Exactly. Yes. Far from a celebrity, guys. You know, there was a time where my channel had like, you know, 100 subscribers, and we've been friends for a very long time, and we've done this show for a
Over a
very long
decade.
time. So it doesn't matter, you know, what our status is or whatever it is. We try to bring this show to you guys all the time because we just like doing it. You know, it
It's a
doesn't
good
matter.
time doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but yeah, and I guess that's it, right? Are we done?
I will end the show by saying I won't be on for 2 weeks on that note. So if you guys don't see me, that's the I'm just
Cat
not
doesn't
available
like
for
it
the next 2
anymore.
weeks. I actually hate it, so that's why I'm gonna be gone forever.
After I said those nice things, you're leaving. That's freaking great.
I am
That is
leaving.
wonderful.
She's
Now
like, I'll show
nobody's
you,
gonna
Mike.
watch us. No one's gonna watch us because no one watches just the two of us. You know,
You guys have
Which
to
is-
not watch for 2 weeks and then come back.
Yeah.
No matter
You know,
which
it's gonna
two
be
of
like
us, which is the
it's
funny
gonna be
thing.
20 viewers. There's gonna be like 20 viewers, and then they're gonna be like, "Where's Cat? Where's Cat?" And then it'll be like 19 viewers, and then by the time we're done in it, Brandon and I will be like, "There's 15 viewers," and we're like, "Yeah, we got it, though,
Watch
right,
the show,
Brant?
guys. Absolute
We got-
Batman.
We got it. We got it.
We got it. We got it.
We'll have fun." You want to
Hold it
be here
down.
next week because we're going to talk about that absolute book. That's what we're going to be doing, right?
Yeah.
I'm sad I have to miss it because these are some books. Exceptional X-Men comes out. I want to talk about it, but I have 2 events that just so happen to fall on a Tuesday, so back to back.
I appreciate
It
we
happens.
appreciate you guys and
Yeah.
all the kind words too. You know,
Yeah.
like,
Thank you.
yeah,
so
I'll
much.
be there. You guys have great chemistry, and yeah, we just love comics. And even if the comics are not that great, we just love talking about them, man.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about here. You know, we're
It makes the
lifelong-
hobby more fun too.
Yeah.
You know, it's just talking about it at the end of the week. You could just read it and then put it in your back of your pile, like, oh, that was fun for the moment. But talking about it and expanding is always fun.
It's what we've always wanted when we were little kids is talk about comic books. At least me and Brant did. Kat's been talking about comic books since on YouTube
Since I
since
was
she
a
was
kid.
a little kid.
Yeah, that's true.
Since I was like 15. So
Oh man,
crazy.
time flies, boy.
I'm
Holy
gonna be
yeah.
30 on
No, man.
Yeah.
That's
Don't.
yeah,
don't.
I'm gonna be 30 in October 3rd, in like a day. So if you want to feel
oh
old.
my god. Do you know Okay, so that like I've known you on Comic Vine as like since you were like 15, 16 years
15,
old.
16. Yeah. So 15
Right.
years
And
we've known each other.
so that's crazy. So
Like half my life. That's crazy.
oh my God. So when my son was born, I was like I was like 33 or 32 or something like
Wow.
that.
That's crazy.
So I was just a little bit older when we started this shit. And I'm
That's
49
wild.
now.
That's nuts.
Isn't that crazy? Oh
Mine
my.
makes me feel better though.
Yeah.
30. Geez, I have t-shirts older than you. All right. I feel better about that at least.
That is just
When did
blows
we
my
when did we
mind.
start? Was it 2013?
It was 2012 because I remember I graduated high school
2012.
when we started. Yeah.
2012.
Yeah, it was
that's
like
right.
the end of it was like August or June of 2012.
That's
I know.
crazy.
If you guys think we just showed up, we've been here for a long time.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
and that's what's great about, again, comic book YouTube. Like it's one of those things where we all met together doing comic book reviews, and then we decided to do this show. And
Yeah.
we've just done it for all this time, and it's
Always
it's
keep
a
our
pleasure to
Tuesdays
do
free
it.
for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Except for these next 2 weeks. I'm sorry, guys.
watch, she'll be back a week and she'll be like, I'm going again, guys. So,
yeah, so I already told you I am.
yeah, she kind of does like what I do right now. I mean, listen, I'm gone for the summer. That's why we don't have summer episodes because of tennis stuff. So
this is my tennis camp time. Usually it's like New York Comic Con happens, and this is the time where it's my tennis camp, guys.
you're talking about paying people, right? I think Comic Uno's contract is up, so
I'm waiting.
It needs to be renewed, Brant. So we need to come to terms so she can come back to the show.
By mid-November, I hope these terms are settled.
We'll work it out. We'll get the lawyers involved. We'll get it all sorted.
Oh man.
Jeez.
So that's awesome. That's cool. Your story, what did it say? Your story is why YouTube is superior to all other media. You cannot get this catered content anywhere. Yeah, I mean, listen, like there's all this stuff now, right? We got Instagram, we got Facebook, we got
TikTok,
TikTok, you got all this stuff, but YouTube is truly the thing that can bring, I feel, people together that never have been friends before,
Yeah.
And that's what's great about comics, because we all have that interest, and you can be anywhere. Like I get comments from Australia, and it's just like people are just like, oh, this Spider-Man issue is like freaking stupid. And I'm like, oh yeah, great. Yeah, I agree with you. And it's like,
and they're saying in an accent, it's crazy.
What's that?
They're saying it in an accent, it's crazy.
Yeah.
They're saying their Spider-Man was.
I mean, look at us. We're in Texas, Florida, and New York, and we've been doing this for
places.
so long. Yeah.
So one day we'll do a show all together, or somehow, some way.
I hope so.
In
we've been talking about it for years. We got to do it.
I know. It's
gonna happen.
It has to happen some way.
I have a feeling when it does, it's going to be in Florida. I just
feel
like that's going to work out.
I think so too.
I mean, listen, Kat and I managed to do it.
I know.
Kat and I got there. You were almost there. Almost there. Your books were there. We were pushing your books.
I know.
Yeah.
My books were there,
but I was not.
Yeah. Never know. Hopefully. You guys just got to get on the MegaCon train early. Otherwise, it just sells.
I will say I'm just pulling some strings. We'll see. I might be there this year. No promises, but I'm pulling some strings to see if it'll happen.
Yeah.
Cool stuff. All right. So that's it, guys. I think we'll officially sign off now. Thank you, everyone, for watching tonight's show. We always love bringing it to you. Kat will be back in like forever. And guys,
my contract's renewed.
If you love the video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to Comic Book Weekly's YouTube channel, as you get to see every single episode back to back. And subscribe to my channel, Comic Book Corner 2.0, where you'll see the episode there. And of course, my weekly stuff. Subscribe to Comic Uno. She's got her comic books of the week, or countdown. Only Good Comics. He's got Friday First and all kinds of stuff. He's changing out his earbuds so he can hear stuff right now. And yeah, guys, that's it. We're signing off for the night. Thank you so much for watching. And Brent and I will see you next week.